disputed reclamation of reefs in the Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. The islands are claimed by the Philippines, Vietnam, and other parties. Kerry attended a foreign ministerial meeting of the 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, on Wednesday. He suggested that China's reclamation work and rapid buildup in the South China Sea have increased regional tensions. He urged China to exercise self-restraint. Kerry also proposed a new plan to cement U.S. ties with ASEAN. He expressed his country's resolve to work closely with the Asian nations to work out the problem. China's Wang also attended a meeting with ASEAN foreign ministers. Wang sought understanding for his country's maritime activities in the South China Sea. He said they are to boost China's defense capabilities and would not pose a threat to its neighbors. Wang later told reporters that countries outside the region should refrain from actions that might escalate or complicate the situation in the sea. Experts see his remarks as an attempt to counter U.S. moves. Both the United States and China are apparently trying to bolster their influence in the region by seeking closer links with ASEAN members.
Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called on U.S. Vice President Joe Biden to investigate alleged spying by a U.S. intelligence agency on the Japanese government and other organizations. Abe and Biden talked by phone for about 30 minutes on Wednesday about the allegation by the WikiLeaks website. The U.S. side proposed the discussion. WikiLeaks said on Friday that the U.S. National Security Agency wiretapped Japan's government and companies of the country dating back to at least 2006. The first Abe administration was in office then. Biden reportedly apologized on behalf of himself and President Barack Obama, saying the matter has stirred controversy in Japan and caused trouble for Abe and Japan's government. Biden said the U.S. government currently does not conduct activities that can undermine bilateral ties based on an order issued in 2014. The U.S. government announced in January last year that it would not wiretap communications of its allies' leaders except when vulnerable in terms of security. Biden added that he hopes to further strengthen the already strong Japan-U.S. relations in facing various threats. Abe responded that if the report is true, it could undermine the two allies' trustful relations. He said he has no choice but to express serious concern. Abe asked Biden to investigate the matter and brief Japan about the findings.
A U.S. official says Undersecretary of State Rose Gottemoeller will attend peace memorials in Hiroshima and Nagasaki as part of Washington's goal of creating a world without nuclear weapons. During a daily briefing on Tuesday, State Department Deputy Spokesperson Mark Toner said the United States looks forward to working with Japan to advance President Barack Obama's goal of abolishing nuclear weapons. Toner said that as the United States commemorates the 70th anniversary of the end of World War II and its enduring relationship with Japan, August 6th and 9th will remain days for somber reflection. He said the occasion is also an opportunity to renew a commitment to building a more peaceful world. Toner said that would be the United States' fundamental message. Gottemoeller is the Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security. She will join U.S. Ambassador Carolyn Kennedy in attending the memorial ceremonies in Hiroshima on Thursday and in Nagasaki on Sunday. Gottemoeller will be the first senior State Department official to attend the annual event. Kennedy's predecessor, John Roos, attended the ceremony in Hiroshima in 2010, becoming the first U.S. ambassador to do so.
Officials at the International Monetary Fund are considering whether to include the Chinese yuan in the basket of currencies that make up its global reserve asset. The special buying rights basket currently consists of the US dollar, euro, British pound, and Japanese yen. The asset is used to help finance IMF member nations that fall short of foreign exchange. IMF officials review the composition of currencies in the basket every 5 years. Their focus now is whether to add the yuan as a fifth currency. IMF officials said in a report that China's trade volume meets the requirement for the currency's inclusion, but they noted the yuan is not as freely usable as the US dollar, the US or Japanese currencies. The Chinese government has been calling for inclusion during the current review. IMF executive board members may decide on the matter by the end of this year.
You're listening to NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. A Japanese organization working to protect cultural assets from Afghanistan says it will return more than 100 items under its care to the war-torn country. The organization said on Wednesday that 102 items, including ancient sculptures and murals, will be repatriated. One of them is a part of a sculpture that shows the influence of ancient Greek civilization on Afghan culture. All of the artifacts have been protected and stored in Japan since 2001. A large number of cultural properties were taken out of the country during its 30-year-long civil war. They have been traded across the world, with some ending up in Japan.
In today's insight, we speak to Noboru Noguchi, who is Director General of the National Federation of UNESCO Associations in Japan, and also a member of the Japan Committee for the Protection of Displaced Cultural Properties. Where have displaced cultural properties of Afghanistan been protected in Japan?
これは亡くなられた平山郁夫先生が本で取られて作っています。
The late Japanese artist Ikuo Hirayama spearheaded this initiative. He was a renowned artist who also devoted his life to preserving cultural properties of the Silk Road. Afghanistan's Bamiyan is considered one of the most important sites there, and although within a Muslim nation today, it is located in an area where Buddhism once thrived, and is often referred to as the crossroads of Western and Eastern civilizations. There were two famous great Buddha statues in Bamiyan, but after the Taliban regime ordered the destruction of statues regarded as idolatrous, many were destroyed, including the great Buddha statues in March 2001. It was during this time that an illegal global outflow of many of Afghanistan's precious artworks began. Hirayama referred to them as cultural refugees and worked to temporarily preserve and restore artworks that found their way into Japan. Hirayama started this campaign in 2001, aiming to return these properties to Afghanistan once a real peace was established. Japan has looked after a total of 102 items, including 60 statues and other cultural properties, and 42 fragments of ancient murals. Hirayama carried out a signature petition and a fundraising campaign and succeeded in collecting around 9 million yen, or $70,000, in donations, which were used to cover expenses to claim and restore the artifacts. The funds were entrusted to UNESCO headquarters, and the initiative was advanced under an agreement with UNESCO. I was also present when this contract was concluded, and remember officials of UNESCO headquarters were concerned about the possibility of the artifacts being brought to Japan for purchase. Therefore, we were able to limit the scope of the cultural properties, those that leaked out of Afghanistan just prior and after the turmoil in 2001. When the Taliban started its campaign to destroy all cultural properties. Cultural properties should essentially be returned and preserved in their homeland. We received a request from the Afghan Ministry of Culture to display these property collections currently preserved in Japan, and there is an exhibition of Afghan cultural heritage in Japan. The minister also asked that after the exhibit, the displaced property collection be included in the worldwide tour exhibit and finally be returned to Afghanistan. This is a good opportunity. They decided that the artifacts will be returned to Afghanistan. However, it is still unclear exactly when they will be finally returned to their homeland. I have visited Afghanistan on many occasions, and people there have praised these efforts made by Japan. We hope to continue such assistance.
That was Noboru Noguchi, Director General of the National Federation of UNESCO Associations in Japan, speaking about the return of Afghanistan's displaced total property. Temperatures across Japan continue to top 35 degrees Celsius on Wednesday. At least 1,164 people were taken to hospital with symptoms of heat stroke. 5 died and 7 others are unconscious. Meteorological agencies say it's the first time since the government started collecting data in 1875 that a full-time high in central Tokyo exceeds 35 degrees Celsius for 6 consecutive days. Temperatures reached 35 degrees or more at 215 observation points out of the 928 points across the country. The highest temperature registered on Wednesday was 39.8 degrees Celsius in the city of Takebayashi in Gunma Prefecture, north of Tokyo.
Creditors of bankrupt Japanese airline Skymark have chosen a rehabilitation plan put forward by the carrier that calls for ANA Holdings to support the firm's restructuring. 2 rehabilitation plans were put to vote at a creditors' meeting at the Tokyo District Court on Wednesday. In its proposal, Skymark picked as a sponsor ANA Holdings, the parent of Japan's biggest carrier, All Nippon Airways. Intrepid Aviation, a U.S. aircraft leasing company and Skymark's biggest creditor, put forward the rival plan, naming U.S. carrier Delta Airlines as a sponsor. Skymark's proposal won support from a majority of creditors who voted and from creditors owning more than half of the firm's overall debt. The airline, Japan's third largest, filed for bankruptcy protection in January. Skymark holds 36 of the roughly 460 departure and arrival slots at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Most of the slots have been allotted to ANA and Japan Airlines. With the approval of the plan, Skymark is expected to get funding totaling 18 billion yen, or $145 million, mainly from domestic investment funds, Integral, and ANA Holdings. Skymark plans to build its business by jointly operating flights with ANA and getting support in equipment, improvement, and fuel procurement.
Here's our top stories again. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi have held separate talks with ASEAN foreign ministers to discuss China's reclamation of reefs in the disputed Spratly Islands in the South China Sea. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has called on U.S. Vice President Joe Biden to investigate alleged spying by a U.S. intelligence agency on the Japanese government and other organizations. And that was the news from NHK World Radio Japan in Tokyo. I'm Keiko Kitagawa.
And I'm Joseph Queen.